both of those.
Yeah, that's a good point. Especially if the Undying is going to be support, which is apparently what they're going to do here. He's not going to be able to afford a mech, so anybody that can grab it is going to help a lot. Especially Gyro is a bit weak to the Rupture Zeus combo, because if you're sitting in one place and you get bolted, all of a sudden you have 70% HP, you get really scared about having to pop your BKB. So having a mech on behind that is definitely going to be very nice to have. So last ban, we see a PL from Hot6 and an Earthshaker ban from Mineski. Definitely a weird looking lineup at first glance from Hot6 here. The Bloodseeker, Zeus, Prophet, and Disruptor, they don't really have a stun. They've got silences, they're going to have some utility later, but definitely a weird lineup. But maybe silences are what you need in this patch. Silences is generally pretty good in team fights, in some ways better than stuns, because they do last for a bit more duration. So, and a Slardar, the last pick from Mineski. I think Slardar is actually very good against Bloodseeker. I played that in a pub last night, actually. You have lots of disable. Lockdown is what you need against BS, so that he can't move, and Slardar has 2.5 seconds uptime and then an 8-second cooldown. So a lot of stun, and Bloodseeker usually builds tanky, and BKB and amplified damage is very good at reducing his armor. So I think this will give them an okay way to kill Bloodseeker. The downside is that most of their damage is magic, so it doesn't stack super well here. The Slar pick's a bit weird. It's good against Bloodseeker, but it doesn't synergize with his team very well.
I think the main thing is they needed a hero that can initiate or jump in. For example, against a Nature's Prophet, you kind of need a blink hero, and against a Zeus especially, you need a BKB carrier, right? You can't just kind of let him sit in the back line, do what he wants. With a Nature's Prophet, they didn't really have any heroes that could catch him. I guess if you play Lina and you get a Shadow Blade and a Yules, then possibly, but I feel like having some sort of blink initiate is the way to go. I thought for a second they would take something like Spirit Breaker, because they just need something to be able to chase around the Nature's Prophet so he doesn't just kind of get free farm. Because I feel like with that hero, especially if you kind of feel like you're given a lot of space, nobody's really contesting you, then you kind of just snowball and you can't really do anything about it.
I like the Slar a bit better than the Spirit Breaker, though. Obviously, Spirit Breaker is a little scarier because he could come from anywhere, and Slar has to set up his ganks a bit more. But the offensive potential I feel like the team fight on Slar is just a little better. It's like better AoE. Disruption is not as good as little target is how I would describe it, but you can kind of engage, disengage, re-engage many times with a Slardar and get a lot of value in a long duration fight, much more than a Spirit Breaker. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns up. A fast TP to the bot lane that's going to be for an Observer Ward. A couple teams have been doing this just to, you pay 100 gold, but you guarantee that your Observer Ward gets down. You don't have to mess around with it getting blocked necessarily or dewarded, or at least they're going to have to guess where it is. So I think that's a nice little advantage there.
Yeah, I think especially if you're going to be playing against a tri-lane like this, you can kind of do things to mess with it. It's going to be a Dazzle, a Disruptor, and a Bloodseeker in all likelihood, and I feel like that lane kind of gets abused if you play the Darkseer right. Like, the offensive potential in there isn't the best, right? Because they've got the glimpse, I guess, but you don't have the best way to just front lane harass him, and it's difficult for them to just kind of deal with the creeps early on, so I think it's okay.
I think they can pressure him really good at level. Like, with just the 2 range supports, I think they can zone him very well. They don't really need the carry to keep him out of range.
But you're okay with that, because that means that your mid laner isn't getting ganked at all.
That's
like,
true.
The reason why I feel like Jesse Vash is going to do this is because he wants the attention on him, so that the other lanes can go well.
Shout out to Pimp doing the obsing, and Luka Derp on stats. What is this unhappy face? What is this about? PHNet is the complaint, so having some internet problems. It'll probably clear up in a second here. Nature's Prophet going with the boots start in the off lane. That's a bit interesting. And setting the trance out to scout. Nothing too new there.
I think you go the boots there because there's no setup stun really. And if you're able to avoid the Lina stun, and you should be able to early on, then you're fine, right? Because the only thing that kills you if you're playing the offlaner isn't it's the carry rotation, right? It's like when the Slardar comes in and tries to harass you at that point. That's kind of when things get a bit dangerous. But if you have boots, you can just play the space game.
And for Mineski, it looks like the Undying shifting to the bot lane as well. So they may start in a dual off lane, which I think is one solution to the two range. Bloodseeker is pretty crappy and worthless at level 1, level 2 in lane until the HP goes down. Thirst doesn't provide very much, and he's, he can throw out his second skill, but in most cases it's hard to land. More than a core of them have come in the TI5C qualifier matches. Yeah, he's been picked up a lot in the last day, and maybe that'll translate to the other scenes as well as the qualifiers, or at least TI itself actually continues. But
we saw it in even the EU ones, right? Because I saw Navi run it for Funnick as well, and so it's not...
Did they do it on a 1v1 or a straight off lane?
I actually didn't watch the very beginning of the game, but I just saw that he was super underfarmed, so I assumed he was off lane. Like, he was actually a 3 or 4 position Bloodseeker, the way that he had farm. So I don't think he was in a one-on-one situation, because I feel like in one-on-one situations, Bloodseeker really thrives.
I like that Frev went and did this with his Quelling Blade. He opens up a lot of trees. It's going to help his team de-ward, basically, if the camp does end up being blocked. It's not blocked, so they probably won't put any sentries down. They may be able to figure out the movement of the heroes, depending on how they react to the supports, but for now, that Observer Ward, that's a very good place to Observer Ward. Basically, gives you a lot of vision. It's one of the more common spots to place it, so there's a chance they'll de-ward it if they do have a sentry, but largely they're just going to zone. And actually, it looks like it's a 2... Is it a 2-1? Oh no, the support was mid, sorry. Started off mid, looks like he put an Observer Ward over there by the top river, and now he's coming back to the bot lane, and that should help him zone people.
I feel like the key for MVP looking at their lineup is they have to abuse the fact that Mineski's lineup in the early game is really immobile, Kevin, because they can't really gank very much, right? They don't really have heroes that can set up stuns for free or anything like that. Whereas MVP Phoenix have tons of heroes that I feel like can pressure early game. Like the Bloodseeker, you don't have to just farm with him. Once you hit 6, you can actually get active around the map. The Zeus can pretty much set up for kills anywhere, and the Nature's Prophet can just TP in mid once he feels like he doesn't really have presence at top, right? So I feel like that's the one part where MVP have to get going early, because in the mid game, if Slardar gets a decent Blink Dagger timing, you don't want to fight into Slardar on dying Gyrocopter. Like, that actually sounds miserable.
Yeah, it really does. And he can get a lot of pickoffs as well on Dazzle or Disruptor if he gets a couple good bashes or gets some good item for him. So, Frev taking some Iron Shell damage here, but he's not too worried about that one. Yeah, look at that. Bam. Heals up everything he just took. He hasn't used a single Tango yet, which is completely different for a typical hard carry. So, decent counter to the Darkseer, at least in the lane, if he does have some support here. Bit of chase here. Sunbee in some trouble. Stun's not going to land there by Jules. Huge mistake. They had a really good shot at getting the kill. In fact, I'd say guaranteed if that first stun landed. And with the sprint, the boot's paying off actually, because the Slardar sprint makes you pretty comparable to a boots yourself. So it was a little hard for Jules to land that hit, and because he missed it, no kill there.
I feel like that should have been a patience thing, though, because if they had the block on him, I feel like you let the Lina chance the stun and throw it in front of the Nature's Prophet so that he either A, runs into it, or B, runs back into the Slardar, and you've got enough damage, right, and enough nukes to be able to win that engagement anyways. Like, you'll still kill him, and I feel like the issue with playing against an offlaner is that once he sees the opportunity one time, he's going to say, okay, I should never go back into that area.
Sunbee coming up way too far here. He was harassing decently well, but there's the sprint, and now the chase is on. That should be his death, and a little too overconfident. He did have some Shrion City in the Lina, but all of a sudden he got a couple hits off on the Slar and walked in too close, so setting himself up for a kill there.
Yeah, as I say that, he does. But I feel like if he plays back there, he should be really happy with the type of trade that he got, right? He got Mineski to waste most of their mana, and they didn't really pressure him too much because he's getting decent levels.
There's the glimpse back. That's going to send him all the way back to that. Tombstone goes down, might buy him some time there, but more right clicks, and that scores. And look at the Tomb just dying so fast. 2 levels of thirst here on Frev. He could turn this around, maybe. His HP's quite low, though. There's another heal. More right clicks coming on G. Running for his life. He's got the decay and the TB back, and he's going to be just fine.
I think he actually should have chased for that.
Frev?
Yeah, because he had boots, and if he was in the Shadow Wave as well...
It's so dangerous, though. He only had about 100 HP at the start.
Yeah, but the Undying is not going to be able to do anything. If Sunbee dies again here, this would actually be so huge for this lane.
And they get him. So another kill there. It's playing Prophet offlane is actually very difficult. The positioning is so important. Plus you're microing during the meantime, so it's very easy to make mistakes.
Yeah, and actually you just saw the application of using the Blood Rage on his teammate, because I don't know if Jurex would have gotten the kill without that, but he cast it during the lightning, the Thunderstrike. So
this is how we saw another NA team do it, actually. They did Bloodseeker with a Skywrath dual lane, and that was really good, because then the Skywrath had the bonus damage for Arcane Bolting the offlaner, and Sky's already picked to zone the offlaner. It was really awesome, and it's kind of what they're doing here. Obviously the Disruptor and the Dazzle not as strong of a zoner, but I think that's one of the ways that Bloodseeker should be used going forward.
Yeah, I'm still kind of favoring Mineski right now as this dual lane. Yeah, they've each died once, but at the same time, they're only committing 2 heroes to the top lane, and being able to kill Sunbee twice there is pretty significant. I feel like Sunbee should just kind of play a little bit more back and kind of respect the double stun, right? Like, he's getting opportunities to farm right now, like throughout the entire lane, and I feel like in both scenarios, he just kind of walked up, got double stunned, and that was it.
Yeah. Once that first stun hits you, it's over, so you have to be so careful. And then it's a lot of reaction speeds as well, but they are playing from Singapore, so they shouldn't have any ping excuse here. I know they went there especially for this, so if anybody has the ping at disadvantage, it's probably Mineski.
Yeah, definitely. In this mid matchup as well, Gyrocopter is actually dominating, but it is a Zeus. And Gyrocopter, if you go for this rocket build and you don't really have any help, I think Gyro actually does really well. Just because you actually have potential to kill the Zeus, for one, and the Zeus doesn't have the best way to kill you because he can't get close and engage, right? Like, he's just going to get rocket barraged every single time. And I think that's what happened early on, is that he just played the high ground game.
Tombstone goes down. They're going on G. Couple right clicks here for Farev, and he gets really low. There's the Sprout as well that's going to secure the immobilize on the Dark Seer, but then the Tango is used. Glimpse back. That's going to cancel the silence, but they should have the right click here. I think Heen's going to be just like, whoa, he's got blown up by 3 iron shells, and he might go down as well. Dark Seer finally falling, but boy, did Farev get shredded there. I bet he silenced himself and everything or something, because he went from full HP to nothing almost instantly.
I think he had Blood Rage on himself. Oh, and actually in this mid lane as well, I mean, the rotate ice, wow, that was actually just a solo kill. That's really surprising. I mean, he uses call down, but I don't think that's a lane that the Zeus should die in. I've actually never played that matchup because Gyro mid isn't so common for me, but I think it's a matchup that Zeus just farms in, right? Because that's what every single matchup is.
If he farms, the problem is he's getting missiled for 300 magic damage. I think what you have to do is you have to know where the supports are, and if he does do a homing missile, you have to stand in your creep wave. It's the only way, because if you back up all the way, you take 300 magic damage. If you stand on the creep wave, yes, the supports of the opponents have a chance to go on you, but if you rocket barrage, it's going to hit your creeps, and the missile will only do 50 damage. It's the only way to play that matchup. It looks like Sunbee's going to get picked off here. Dragon Slave and one more right click, and they grab him for a 3rd time on the top lane. So top lane, safe lane going very well from Mineski. That's going to be a very fast blink dagger. See, this time, moves towards the rocket, takes 125.
But he only is able to do that because he has the Dazzle backing him up. If he does that in the middle of nowhere, like he just did, and the Dazzle isn't there, then he just gets called down, I feel. And then he kills him anyways.
It depends on the first 6 levels or so. I think that's the important part. And I think at this point, he maybe took too much missile damage, so he's lost his advantage. Big Zeus ult actually grabbing the Dark Seer. I didn't think that guy was going to die. Frev now right-clicking, and that should be a kill for him as well. And the Bloodseeker, man, 6 kills now, or at least 6 kill participation, 5 assists and 1 kill. Looking good for Frev in the bot lane.
Yeah, and this is the strength of the Nature's Prophet, is that that's twice now that he's rotated and they've gotten 2 kills. But I feel like there was no need for this lane to or this game to go as poorly as it did for MVP Phoenix. It felt like they made more individual mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Sunbee getting solo kill top twice when he knows what the lane is, right?
Well,
like
3
it's a
times,
straight
actually.
up dual lane, yeah.
All great glimpse.
And then at bottom again, and then even in the mid lane, the Gyrocopter was able to pick up the solo kill on the Zeus, right? And so Mineski don't have the best ganking lineup, but they're still able to kind of hold even right now against a lineup that has so much global presence early on.
That fast ward on the high ground was exactly what Jerix was planning for there. He says, if they TP back in the lane, I'm going to glimpse them. And by glimpsing them back there, they delayed the defend for a bit here. Here comes the call down, going to hit a lot of heroes. Tombstone down as well. Jerix taking some damage. He's got a 10-stick wand. That's actually going to be his death here. Rupture comes on top of the Gyrocopter. He's got to stand still, but with the Disruptor a little bit out of position on the left side, he does get picked off. Sunbee attacking a missile. Is this going to be the right choice? He does get it barely in time. Very dangerous. That nailed him. I think that could have been a kill.
Yeah, it definitely would have been, because Jesse Vash and the Gyrocopter are high enough levels that they're definitely going to try to get into that engagement. But they have to be a little bit more worried about the rotations from the Gyrocopter, right? Because they can do some tricky stuff, like the Gyrocopter gets surged in, he throws a call down behind you, and instantly you can't take a fight because there's a call down and Tombstone, and you're most likely going to lose at least 1 hero. And at top lane again, I mean, Sunbee can't die here again. Like, he's too poor. And yeah, he's getting some measure of farm and making things happen, but he's dying so frequently, and the amount of gold that he's giving up isn't worth it.
And a very easy kill, Rocket Barrage and 1 Dragon Slave. A mere 200 mana, and that's a dead hero. I don't know if he could have predicted that one, though. Maybe needed to spawn Treants and move those around for vision or something. It doesn't look like he has any Treants on the map right now.
Yeah, the main thing as well is that I think he should have, if he's going to go there, he just has to have Treants scouting out, and if they use a smoke, then you're okay with it. But I think more importantly than that, I feel like he should just go to the jungle, because if he's going to play greedy like that and you get punished in the beginning, you just can't die anymore, because I feel A, it's demoralizing, and B, you're just giving up free gold to whoever comes to you, right? And so I feel Sunbee should relax a little, you know, say, okay, yes, those deaths weren't the best, but I can catch up.
Zeusel comes out, big damage on the Gyrocopter actually, and they're going on the bot lane. That's the Dark Seer going to get picked off by the Rupture. And the rest of the fight, the cooldown zones them out. There's a glimpse back, bringing the Undying into some trouble. He does not get caught. He actually goes a bit aggressive, throws the tomb. Now turning around and homing missile. Can they kill it?
They actually have to fight it.
Whoa, Gyro pretty far forward. There's the Sprout as well. He's going for the TP. Can they get the interruption? Nothing. No sandback, but Frev does clean up the Undying on the back of the fight. And MVP is just... These fights seem kind of weird, don't they? It's like a lot of... I feel like there's a lot of positioning mistakes being made.
It's just about playing. Like that? It's playing against a disruptor. It kind of messes with your rhythm because you don't realize where you can be safe typically. And I feel like most people have experience playing with disruptor, but you don't really keep an internal 4-second clock in your head going at all times, right?
Yeah.
So you never really know where people are going to be.
There's the glimpse back. Anticipating a TP was not a teleport. And tower gets destroyed, so another tower going down. Frev actually being chased by a missile. It's actually a good surge here. Throw in the Dragon Slave at least. He shouldn't be hit by that missile, but fall up here as MP shifts over. A bit of damage being done to Lina. They could turn this around. Great Sprout. Ulti comes through as well, but doesn't hit anybody. Just the Laguna Blade. The Silence now barely going to catch him due to the body blocks of his teammates. Rupture now on the Undying. The chase is on when you're out of position. They're just going to make him worse. He even drops his boots during the fight to get a bit more mana. Undying barely surviving. The chain comes through. Needs one more love tap. Sunby not getting it. The wand giving him a second more. And the neutrals wailing into MP. Now they're chasing, looking for another rocket barrage. The missile's coming. That's bad for MP. He almost dies, does end up going down due to the flat cannon. And now he's after Heen. His HP's low. This is looking a little scary, and Gyro will back off. Doesn't want to press his luck after getting that many kills. So Mineski tying things up. It looked like a really bad fight, but the Undying stayed alive long enough to make it worth it.
Yeah, and that was really unlucky by Mineski as well, not being able to pick up the kill on the Zeus. It actually went the way of the neutral creeps at the last possible second.
Man.
Yeah, I think the Nature's Prophet ulti as well as the zombies chasing kind of just triggered it, and then they just like the Furblog just like hit it once.
Looking for a glimpse here, but Jerks, does he have the mana though? He doesn't. There's the Zeus ult as well. That should be it. Bloodseeker is just never gonna. Sprint makes you very rapid, very fast, but the Bloodseeker does counter it in another way. It's kind of two heroes that in some ways counter each other.
It's honestly too, it's the Zeus ult, because every single time that he pops it, Frev does a ton of damage. They don't really have the best ways of slowing him down, right? Because that's the issue with not having a lot of reliable stuns. And the Slardar didn't focus on getting into any early engagements. And so Frev was able to just kind of run around doing whatever he wanted, right? Like you didn't see Slardar in the mid engagement, the one in the enemy jungle as well. And so that's a 12-minute BKB complete. And once you have that BKB, I mean, Mineski actually don't have anything that go through it right now. Yeah, you've got the amplified damage and the call down slows him down, but those aren't ideal scenarios because it's not slowing him down very much at all.
Frev was very active and he was able to farm a BKB. Slardar was very inactive and he just got a blink. He is invisible here, so he's not going to be spotted. He's probably going to go on Sunby. Frev should be able to... No, he actually doesn't have mana for Rupture, actually, so... This could be a little bad for Mineski. They're going for it. Here comes the blink any moment. No, they're not going to go.
I don't think they want to engage on Frev, because if he does pop his BKB or get it off, they don't have the physical damage right now to be able to kill him, because the Gyrocopter, if you notice his build as well, he doesn't really do the most damage, and the Slardar only has a Blink Dagger, and so I feel like Frev isn't the target here. You want to go on somebody like the Nature's Prophet, pop him immediately, or go for one of the supports that are really useful, right? Like if you can kill the Dazzle off the bat, but can you imagine having to go through both the Dazzle and the Bloodseeker's BKB? There's no way.
Yeah, there's no way at all. Sentry goes down. He's not going to catch the Observer. They go in actually into Frev. There's the ult as well. Zeus will come through. Frev getting really low, half HP, but there's the Grave that's going to buy him all the time he needs. If he gets a heal from this, he doesn't quite. Great heal, and Frev's very low, running for his life, getting blocked by zombies, and the chase is on now. Jesse Vash very low. MP's able to clean him up, and the rest of the zombies go down. They could chase this. They're all so low, and Bloodseeker can just get some lifesteal here. No, he's going to play it very safe. This is a smarter way to do it. They may lose the Undying kill, and he does get bolted. Another cleanup. MVP get a 5-hero wipe. I mean, not only is it hard to kill the Bloodseeker, but with the Grave on top of that, there really was no chance of getting that kill.
I really feel like a large portion of this is because Mineski don't have the best lockdown early game, and so they weren't really able to pressure too much. Like the laning phase went okay with them, but I felt like that was more of MVP's kind of missteps, and now you're kind of seeing in straight up 5v5 engagements, if you get a 12-minute BKB on a Bloodseeker, you're not going to be able to stop that. And that's not even counting on how much damage the Zeus is going to put out, because I feel like with Zeus, even with 0 items, is always going to be the top damage dealer in most of these team fights. And if you notice, Forev is doing exactly what you talked about, Kevin, is that he has the presence of mind in almost every single one of these fights to put the Blood Rage onto the Zeus, because he realizes, okay, once I frontline with my BKB, the Zeus, they're never going to be able to get to him. So why not just give it to him and kind of let him go to work there, and he's able to pick up a triple kill.
I didn't even notice he had it on him. But if you look at his skill build, he's gone for the heavy Blood Rage. He's definitely favoring Blood Rage, really. And this allows Zeus to pump the damage out. Normally we see a 1-4-4 build because you just use Blood Rage to buff your damage up mostly. But 12 seconds duration on a 6-second cooldown. He can cast it on himself and also on the Zeus. That's probably one of the best things about this skill build, is that rather than just having the slight increase in damage, you can cast it on up to 2 people and have it up 100% of the time. So his silence is worse, but it already is a pretty good level 1 skill. It does 120 pure damage, and the silence is for 3 seconds instead of 6. So actually not a bad ability to leave at one point, I guess, if you look at it this way. I feel like if you do use Blood Rage to buff up one of your allies, it's definitely the value skill build.
Yeah, I think the Blood Rage as well, it's not a big deal for them right now because they have enough damage to deal with it. It's actually just, like, the Blood Rite is helpful, I guess, but it won't determine whether or not they win or lose a fight, right? Whereas I feel like the Blood Rage actually would. Being able to give it to the Zeus in the middle of a fight. If he gets like 2 bolts off and an Arc Lightning, I felt like that was already worth skilling it.
It's a pretty big damage increase. 40%. That's massive.
Yeah, and think about the type of heroes that Mineski have right now. You've got a sprinted Slardar who doesn't have a BKB or anything like that.
And he takes bonus damage from sprint.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Lina, if I had to estimate, probably is like 800 HP. Oh, all right. I was giving her the bracer credit, you know? And so the Undying's got 800. Like, you've just got so many squishy cores right now and support heroes. And on top of that, the Darkseer, if I remember correctly, doesn't have a mech completed as well.
Yeah.
And so trying to get into fights right here, I think the smoke was an okay idea, in all honesty, because they probably felt like they were super far behind and they had to do something before it got out of control. But it was just unfortunate that Forev's gotten such a fast BKB.
I like the Bloodstone pickup on Zeus. It's very common in the early game just because it guarantees your mana for the entire game. The HP increase is really nice, and pretty much it's a farming item. Well, for that hero at least, since you do have to cast spells to be viable for farming. So good pickup. He'll respawn faster as well. That part's pretty cool.
Yeah, more importantly than that as well is I think it just makes him so tanky in the middle of fights. How are you ever going to kill the Bloodseeker with BKB, the Zeus with the Bloodstone and 1400 HP? You've got to take into account the Dazzlegrave as well, and whatever the silences that the Disruptor can put out. And that's something that you should always consider as a team. Like, how exactly are we going to do this, right? I'm not just trying to be negative or pessimistic for Mineski. This is a conversation you need to have with your team right now and say, how the hell are we going to kill that BKB and neutralize all the backline as well from MVP Phoenix? And right now, for me personally, being able to see the entire map, I feel like it's going to be a little bit too difficult unless Mineski gets some sort of dream fight. Like, if you get the 5-man vacuum into Slardar stun, into Lina stun, into the Flesh Golem being up, and then a call down, it's probably not that excessive, but
it's going to be tough. They spot out Jules here, or the other solution is kill Dazzle right at the start of the fight, or Disruptor, Dazzle Disruptor, and then you can maybe deal with the cores because they'll have less disable at that point. So blowing up the supports is definitely one really good way to win fights, because most carries just don't simply have good disable.
Yeah.
Tombstone can do a lot of work as well. Yeah.
The problem right now for Mineski, though, is that they have the bottom 3 levels in the game, and I feel like in games like this where you're behind, you actually have to be closer in experience than you do in net worth at this point. And with the Undying only being level 6, things are going to be a little bit difficult, but it's not completely unmanageable right now for Mineski. Like, they can still have the Wombo combo lineup. If their Slardar eventually gets a BKB as well, I could easily see him being able to penetrate the backline. But right now, I feel they should not get into fights. Like, pre-BKB, at least get some levels on your Undying before, or maybe look for pickoffs, right? Because I feel in a 5-on-5 fight, MVP Phoenix would have to mess up massively for them to lose the fight. So I think Mineski's game plan is just kind of split up, farm a little, look for whatever pickoffs you can. Hopefully we can find a Nature's Prophet. What do you feel?
Yeah, I think Prophet is definitely a hero that they could go for, and they do have good reach with the Slardar, so he's maybe the one that needs to be moving around the map. They do have a Gyrocopter that can farm as well, and like you said, he needs a BKB, but I think Slar's best farming methods are pretty much just killing. He's really good at that, roaming and killing. Not the best flash farm, so pick off on Prophet would definitely be great. Supports maybe as well. They have been rune controlling a lot. They're not the most farmed. A really good KDA here on Heen 2-0 and 4, but his survivability is not high, and Disruptor's items really don't look that much different. So if Mineski can find out a position support or grab any kill on the Prophet, I think that would be the best target.
Yeah, you could blow up Heen really quickly. And if you notice that Heen's build is honestly just meant to be like the healer in the background, right? Like how often do you see 0 levels of Poison Touch, this many levels of Grave? Well, I mean,
not every
usually
game,
get like at least 1 level of it or something like that. But
if you're zoning the offlaner, if it's a solo, but otherwise people don't level it up that much.
I guess if you're against a dual lane, I would have maybe gotten at least 1, but it seems like they had more of a focus on the mid game to make sure that they had the early Grave.
Look at the Blood Rage bonus damage to the tower.
This is the push that I didn't consider.
the Zeus right clicks.
Zeus right clicks. I guess if you're far ahead enough, then your Zeus can play this far up.
I mean, those Arc Lightnings looked really damaging. I think, what does it do, like 130 damage or something like that for maxed Arc Lane? I can't remember. We actually see a Static Storm on the top lane. Did they catch any? Yes, actually, that's a dead Slardar looking like it. Good blocking as well, and Hot6 here grabbing a unstoppable streak on Zeus.
Yeah, more importantly than that, it's the early Bloodstone
damage. So, and that's boosted by 40%. So that's like what, 14.5 times 4, 28 times 2. It's like 6. That's like a 200 damage jumping to 15. That's like Lightning Storm Unleashed, basically, almost. That's at 265. So it's basically like a 1.5 second cooldown Lightning Storm. Definitely a good synergy there with the Bloodseeker Zeus.
So if you're MVP, I think Dazzle has a medallion, right?
Yes.
You probably have enough map control at this point in the game. And you've got a Nature's Prophet that I think the game plan is to push out top with the Nature's Prophet. And you know that alliance style. I was actually talking to EGM about it, how Bulldog kind of set this meta. You push out top with the Nature's Prophet, you force somebody to defend the tier 2, and then as soon as that happens, then your entire team just moves into Roshan, and then you TP in, and you get a free Roshan. Because then you'll take the 4-on-5 fight at that point.
Well, before the push out top can happen, Mineski does do a 5-man smoke. Slower pretty far ahead, nowhere near close. Ooh, they're going for the Ninja Roshan themselves. A lot of teams have been doing this recently. They know they're behind, and they're like, let's see how fast we can kill this, and they kill it very fast because Slardar's ultimate reduces his armor by 15. There's no vision there. A couple pings from the Radiant team. They're looking for vision. There's the Blood Right. Oh, the Zeus ult did so much damage, puts everybody at half HP. More nukes from the high ground. Jules is going to try to commit and get it, but Roche just has too much. Prophet ulti puts everybody low. There's Zeus ult as well. And they just got it Shrek'd appropriately.
Forever and so fast. Here's the bottom lane. They were all at a quarter HP because of the Zeus ult, and he got there so quickly. And then you just straight up one-shot that Lina because he had so much bonus damage. And oh man, this is brutal.
That's such a cool combo, Zeus Bloodseeker. It's really awesome. Blood Rage bonus, like you said, the Zeus ult to give bonus movement speed immediately. It works out really well here.
Yeah, I think the lineup just synergizes well, and more importantly than that, I think Hot6 are just playing it really well as well. Yeah, I think Mineski had to go for that Roshan attempt, to be honest with you, because they were far enough ahead that that's a kind of YOLO move that you have to take. Because if you just kind of let them get an Aegis, then from there what happens, right? The Bloodseeker gets an Aegis, and now they have opportunities to go high ground, right? Whereas if you have the Aegis, if the Slardar gets a BKB and he's got an Aegis, then I feel like Mineski has a chance to win the fights. But especially with that team wipe and then giving up the Roshan as well, things get a little bit tricky now.
A little bit of call down to try to slow things, but they've got a mech, they've got a Dazzle. I don't really see them being able to stop this Rax attempt. I mean, they did just get wiped, but with the Aegis up, things get tough. Zeus doesn't have his ulti yet, so no supercharge, run fast for Bloodseeker. It's kind of functioning like the Troll Warlord. Okay, it's ready now. It's like the Troll ulti, basically. You're like, would you like to be really strong for a couple seconds? Yes, I would, thank you.
You can also be a core.
Press your ultimate, thank you. Time to kill everybody. Zeus goes in. Look at that bolt taking out 500 damage after reduction. That's actually how much damage that did. That was amazing. Yeah, what a combo. The Zeus ult comes through. Frev's all fast and stuff. Will he dive, or they just... I didn't like that ult very much.
You know the kind of good news about right now what's going on for Mineski? It's going to sound really sarcastic, but they're a low enough level that in most fights they'll probably be able to respawn instantly. Like the Lina's level 9 and the Undying's level 6 at 23 minutes. Like he's going to come back into the fight every single time.
His cooldowns are not short duration though. Once Tomb and his ulti are used, you've got a level 1 Decay and a level 1 Soul Rip. Not really abilities you can spam here.
You got to have something to work with, though.
Yeah.
Bodies are bodies.
Bodies are bodies. He can tank 800 damage. He can tank 2 right clicks from Bloodseeker.
It's time to get a value cloak at this point.
I don't know if it's worth it when you only have 800 HP. They're going in. Look at the damage. That was a bolt, and he goes down to 300. And a chain lightning, I think. Tower goes down. Going on the racks on vacuum, catching a couple, looking for the stomp as well. Great sounds there from the Disruptor, and that pushes them back. Jesse Van trying to TP out on top. He doesn't make it, almost does though. Frev chasing with the BKB, but not everybody's low enough, so he won't be able to clean anything up. And the wall being here, MP, nice blink back to safety. So once the wall goes away, they should be able to clean this up and go high ground, possibly take the racks. No dead heroes at the moment though. Those will buyback from the Darkseer. The wall is still down. It lasts for 45 seconds. He can vacuum into it. See if they go for it. Called out as well to slow things a bit. There's the surge. MP at about half HP. He's got the Blood Rage on him. This is the right time to go in. Can they grab him? This would be Aegis. He dies so fast. Looking for the ulti. It'll pop out maybe as soon as he respawns here. Or they'll play safe a bit. That's when you have to go on him. When the he ulted just a little bit early there. Right before the Blood Rage. Looking for the bolt. Nothing happens. And the range barracks should be falling here. And MP, as well as the rest of MVP, should be able to retreat. Unless they want to get a kill. Again, Gyrocopter getting very low. He's got a ball up. Stay up. Bloodseeker gets stunned, trying to run all over the place. Jules is about half HP now, taking another nuke. The Rupture is too much in the Glimpse as well. Chasing after him. That should be a dead hero. Is he going to Rupture him? Who's he Rupture? He went on the Darkseer instead. He gets cleaned up. MP doing so much damage with this Blood Rage. It's like a super Veil. It actually is 40% damage amp. Veil only does 25%. Obviously, it's slightly different mechanics, so it's not exact numbers, but man, the damage amp on the Zeus just makes him so incredibly strong. Especially if you're ahead like this. It's half of their HP to cast one bolt, and that's like, what, 4-second cooldown or something? It's so good. 6-second. 4 would be too good.
Yeah, it just feels like MVP are kind of just running at them, and at this point, the level and item advantage is just too large that Mineski can't really deal. Like, if your Undying was maybe level 12, I could see this happening, but it just feels like the pace of the game has just kind of escaped them, and this is just kind of what happens when you have a snowball lineup like this, right? Like when you've got a global lineup with a Bloodseeker, if you're winning the early game, is called, then things just get more rough for you as it goes on.
And I feel like this is the first Bloodseeker game I've seen where they really leveraged the Blood Rage, though. Like, it made Zeus look so strong there, and even with that said, he was still a very strong hero without the Zeus owning everything up. He had such a good early game. They won their dual lane. They got a lot of kills. Even with a couple kills on the Nature's Prophet on the top lane, they just snowballed real hard in the mid game, took towers, and there wasn't a whole lot Mineski could do. So that's the first loss of the set. If MVP Hot6 wins the second game, they get